Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 245 of Nintendo Pow Block. Sitting in for your host, Eddie V, today, I'm your host, Dan Murphy. And today we're going to be talking all about the financials in our Docked Mode segment. These were released last week. Plus, we'll be talking about a whole slew of news, including the new game builder for Nintendo. But before we get to all of that, let's introduce our panel today. So first up, we have the founder of Boss Rush Network and founder of Nintendo Pow Block, Mr. Corey Deering.
That's me. Hello, I've returned.
A guy who has a permanent bruise on his forehead from teaching me how to use commas, our editor-in-chief, Mr. David Lasby.
Hey, everybody.
Maybe you should hit the corner of a desk with your forehead so the bruise looks like a comma.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Stoy from EXPCast. Welcome, Stoy.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. How was everybody's weekend?
It was eventful.
Yeah? What was so eventful?
Well, my wife's birthday and Mother's Day were this weekend, so we had a party and kind of ate a lot and ate some more, and then when we were done eating, we ate some more.
Yeah, Corey, did you double gift there, or did you try to wrap it all into one?
Well, here's the thing.
Uh-oh.
I got two cards and two gifts and flowers.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
husband of the year.
I am. Write that down. Tell that to my wife. Please, somebody.
My wife and I, we don't have kids, so but we have two dogs. So apparently this Saturday was National Dog Mom Day. In lieu of Mother's Day. So I failed. I didn't get her anything because I just found out about that holiday on Saturday.
Oh, come on.
I didn't know this was a holiday.
Sounds like Stoy's in the dog house.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow.
How about you, David?
I gave you that one.
You did. You set me up.
Yeah, we did the whole Mother's Day thing all Sunday, and I got two kids, so it's a whole thing.
Nice. Yeah, I called my mom on Mother's Day, and I was just, wished her a happy Mother's Day. And actually, she didn't even pick up. So I left her a voicemail and asked her if she wanted a gift, and then she texted me no. So that was the extent of my Mother's Day celebration.
Wow. All right.
But we built a veggie garden in our backyard, so that was fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Grow them fresh tomatoes and squash, zucchini.
And we get a lemon tree too that's hanging out next to it. So all fun stuff.
Party.
Yeah, I brewed beer over the weekend. That's all I did on Saturday night, basically.
Stoy did the opposite of Dan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I have a beer brewing story that I'll save for off the show because it's pretty brutal. But let's get into some housekeeping before we get started. Nintendo Pow Block airs on Twitch on twitch.tv Boss Rush Games Live every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. If you can't make it to our live show, you can find our podcasts uploaded every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Please be sure to join our growing community on Twitter or Facebook at Nintendo or at Pow Block Podcast, where you'll also find the link to our Discord community. If you like our show enough and want to discover a few more just like us, you can pop over to the parent network website, www.bossrushgames.com, to discover our network of podcasts and read some great articles. So, let's get into Snacktendo. Corey, kick it off.
Oh, boy. Let me tell you. On Friday, last week at work was just awesome. It was the best week of work of my life. And that is totally a lie. So when we got home on Friday, I was tired, my wife was tired. I got home late. We decided to order pizza, right? And it was just whatever. But we had the best thing is when you find a gift card that you forgot that you had, but you find it and then you get excited because you get to use it finally. There's a place down the street from us called Mr. G's Pizza. And it's big, huge, a large pizza is a 22-inch pizza, right? That's their large pizza. I don't really care for their regular pizzas. They're kind of greasy and thick and whatever, but they have New York style pizza. And let me tell you, This is the closest thing I've had to real New York pizza since we went to New York like 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice.
It was amazing. Like oven baked, crispy pepperoni, kind of like that dry crust that feels like it sat on top of other pizzas because it just had the crumblies on the bottom. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I was like, man, we are getting this pizza every time now. So that was good. And then what else do we have? Oh, for my wife's birthday / Mother's Day, we got Mexican, and I got some like little burritos. They were fine, but the real joy of this Mexican food was the salsa they sent with the chips. Now, when you go to a Mexican restaurant, they usually give you the mildest, blandest salsa, right? Just like, it's fine. It's literally for everybody on the table. Not everybody likes spicy stuff. I get it. This salsa was so hot. It was so hot that I had to stop eating it for like
that never
10 minutes until I went back in for more. It was awesome. So that's
good.
That's my Snacktendo.
This weekend, for part of Mother's Day, I rented out a theater room, I guess, so we had the whole theater to ourselves, which, you can do that. It's a pandemic now. So my kids,
awesome.
Yeah, my kids are really excited because it's been like, farther than their memory of what going to the theater looks like. So that was great. And so, my Snacktendo this week, the thing I was most excited about was getting real movie theater popcorn and sneaking all my, candy in the theater. So I had a bunch of little mini 100-gram bars, which are my favorite candy bar, and some Reese's Pieces, and then a large movie theater popcorn, which is a treat after probably like a year and a half. I can't even remember the last movie I went to the theater for, so it was good.
Oh, I can. I saw Rocket Man, the Elton John movie.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I really just didn't like it. I thought it was going to be awesome, like the Queen movie, but it was, oof, it was rough.
I think the last movie...
you meant the Disney one, Rocket Man.
Oh.
Is that what it was called?
The Rocketeer?
The Rocketeer, that was it.
Yeah.
I think the last movie I saw in the theater was Endgame.
Oh, man.
Sure. Yeah, we don't go to movies much. This is like not our thing. We rather sit at home and watch Netflix or something.
I saw Mortal Kombat a couple weeks ago in the theater, so
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But I had a pizza story too on Friday, but mine was not so fun. It was like we got this pizza shop or this pizza restaurant and kind of like close to downtown Milwaukee. They call it Walker's Point. It's called Fixture, and they have like all different kinds of pizzas named after local businesses in the area, so it's really cool. The one I get is called Walker's Point Tattoo pizza, where it's like it's chicken, it's bacon, it's olives, I think, and then pineapple. And I don't want to hear anybody say like pineapple belongs on pizza, pineapple doesn't, but it just for me it works. It's fine. But the lead up to this story is we were waiting an hour and a half for the table. So we went to a bar across the street, grabbed a drink, and it's like we finished the drink in like 5 minutes. So it's like, well, do we sit here and just keep pounding them? And so we just basically sat there for like an hour and a half, and my stomach's growling, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna devour this pizza. So I got a pretty decent sized pizza of it. And I get it through, and I order deep dish. And there's not a lot of good places in Milwaukee that serve good deep dish pizza, except this place. And I could finish like 3 pieces, but I had like 8 pieces left over that I was like, great. I spent like $25 for this friggin' pizza. I'm going to take this home with me. Of course, I forget. Left it in the restaurant. And
oh, no.
Yeah, so I paid $25 for 3 pieces of pizza. And I was so mad because I got home and I looked in the back of the seat and I was like, let me just grab my leftovers. I'm like,
oh, no.
Oh, man. I didn't really have that much of a Snacktendo this weekend. I'm trying to think about it. I actually had a lot of pizza. Now that I think about it, we just had like really long days. My fiance and I, like in the beginning of the week last week towards like the weekend. So it was kind of just a takeout thing every night. And I always go with, the extra cheese and pepperoni. So, yeah. So that's it for Snacktendo, guys. We're going to move on pretty quickly over to the family news. So, David, you want to get it started off with the family news?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking that's probably the shortest Snacktendo I think we've ever had, because Ed's not here to promote whatever he discovered for the week. So apologies to our listeners if you were excited for more there, but
yeah, maybe we can have Ed do an extended
standalone. Yeah. There's our pod clip right there.
I'm sorry, I'm not filling those shoes good enough. I mean,
well, I'm the one filling his shoes, and I didn't even think of a Snacktendo. So
I don't think anybody can match Ed's passion for the nuances of Snacktendo. So Ed, when you're listening to this, we miss you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and get started. So there were some interesting stories in the news this week that I'm kind of excited to get to. The first one is that former Retro Studios dev is skeptical of a Metroid Prime Trilogy port to Switch. So this originally got reported out of NintendoEverything.com from Brian over there. Quote, over on Shinesparker's Facebook page, Wiccan said the following when one Metroid fan mentioned wanting to play Metroid Prime Trilogy on Switch. That would take a lot of effort, so I'm pretty skeptical it will happen. It was straightforward to update Metroid Prime 1 and 2 to motion controls, but converting Metroid Prime 3 to normal controls would be a Herculean effort, as it was scripted very specifically using volumetric triggers to detect the motion in precise manners to do specific switches, and the bosses are tuned to take into account the ease of gestural aiming. Wiccan later added that Retro no longer has functional editor tools to work with Prime codebase, so everything has to be brute force hard-coded. He suggested that it could take a year with a full-time team of 4 to 5 people to rebuild the hundreds of interactions set in Metroid Prime 3, as well as returning to gameplay to take in the slower engagement of pacing conventional controls. So, Metroid's been getting a lot of buzz over the last year as, people feel like we're getting closer to a new Metroid game, or maybe never getting it, depending on if you're, excited about all the hires or cynical about Nintendo not acknowledging the anniversary. So I'm just curious what you all think of this claim from the former dev, and what your reactions are to this story. With all the successful ports to Switch, is the effort worth it for Nintendo? Why can't Nintendo give Metroid a fair shake? Corey, do you have any thoughts on this to get us started?
Yeah, I do. It's weird because there's been a rumor for at least 2 years that the trilogy is done and ready to go, and they're just waiting to release it when they need to, right? Like that's been the rumor for at least 2 Game Awards, right? And if it's only going to take a year for 4 or 5 people, I feel like if you put a team of like 15 on there, you could have it done in 6 months. And Nintendo, look, I mean, people said Skyward Sword was impossible, and look, it's coming out in July. So, yeah. I mean, that's like the one main game that I look at, because there was a really famous interview that I think Game Informer did with Anuma that said, would you ever consider porting Skyward Sword? This was during the Wii U era. And he said it would take a lot of work to get that game to run because it's so reliant on motion controls that it would be near impossible. And we're getting it in July on the Switch. Granted, it has motion controls, but you can also play it with a full button layout, and the sword is just controlled by the right stick. So,
That's a great comparison. That was one of the first games that I thought of as well. Stoy, what do you think of this story? And is Metroid as a franchise ever going to get a fair shake from Nintendo?
To answer that latter question, no, because I think Metroid is such a niche. It's a niche franchise within Nintendo's library that, when the common people out there think Nintendo, they think Mario, they think, Duck Hunt, they think of even like Pokemon, all these other franchises that, make Nintendo more money. And then you got the smaller, lesser known franchises, even though Metroid's been around as long as Nintendo's been around. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's still kind of like a very niche audience that is into this.
Yeah, to play off that real quick, there was a stat that came out the other day that Horizon Zero Dawn, the PlayStation 4 game, has sold more copies than the entire Metroid series combined. And it's sold it's sold what, 10.4 million units, I think. So
that's insane.
I mean, that's insane. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's weird coming from Super Metroid being lauded as one of the best Nintendo games like ever made. I mean, one of the most highly rated Nintendo games I think ever made. I mean, I'm up there with it. I think Super Metroid is probably one of the best games out there to play right now. If anything, it set the standard for a lot of games now. We have, you know, Metroidvania style games that are super popular right now that was started because of Metroid. So I don't understand why Nintendo doesn't, unless they have some grander plan that they're waiting to unveil. But in terms of their reasons for this, I think it's just, you know, okay, they're coming up with kind of lazy excuses why they're not doing it. You know, these are easily, okay, fine. It takes a Herculean effort. I get it, but you can do it. I mean, they did it with Skyward Sword when a couple years ago they said it would be impossible, and then when you find out how they fixed it, I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
You know? second joystick.
Just David, just to ask you, is they interviewed someone from old retro, right? You said,
right.
Was this one of the people? I mean, is this developer's native language English? I'm assuming then.
I believe so. Yeah. Are you wondering if it's like a translation
because sometimes things get lost in translation, or, you know, translated too literally or whatever. That was something that I thought of too. But if he's from retro,
I don't
then
think
sure
that was. Yeah. That definitely has been an issue in the past, particularly with stuff around Zelda, where people will get really excited about something and that wasn't really what the original interview was saying. Dan, do you have any predictions for E3 related to Metroid? Is this all part of just a distraction as Nintendo really gears up to surprise us with Metroid?
Oh, I have plenty of E3 predictions, but none of them involve Metroid.
I noticed that when you spammed our Discord with a few of your predictions, and Metroid was not on there.
0%. I don't know what it is about Metroid that Nintendo just doesn't like, but I don't see anything happening for Metroid. I wouldn't hold your breath for any ports or anything like that.
I mean, we barely got anything from Mario, really, right? I mean, what
we still haven't got anything from Zelda.
I know.
We actually don't know that we're going to get anything for. God. I just to kind of wrap this one up, I think it's really unfortunate because I think Stoy brought up a great point. We have an entire genre of video games that's literally named after Metroid and Castlevania, right? You know, and so, even if just nothing else than brand pride, you would think Nintendo would invest something. I mean, just even if it's just a really cheap port of some of these games to Switch, something. I mean, it's such a storied part of your company and the accomplishments that you've done. It wouldn't really. You would easily make as much as it costs to develop it to just put it on Switch. So I'm hoping that they'll surprise people. Still, I'm optimistic. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be I mean, I feel like in terms of it being a first-party game, I mean, they even work with port houses, right? Like Grezzo is one of the better porting studios that Nintendo has, right? They've done so many great Zelda ports that throw them a bone, give them some Metroid. I don't care.
All right, let me throw one other idea to the panel really quickly. What if a developer from Xbox came along and said, we'll buy the franchise off of you, Nintendo. You're not doing anything about it. We have a vision for it. Is that something that you think Nintendo would be willing to let go?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, Dan?
Absolutely. They want nothing to do with it. And if they can make money, sell it. Get rid of the franchise.
And Microsoft surprised us with their acquisition of Bethesda, so I wouldn't put it past them that they would have the money and the chops to take this from them.
I guess Nintendo does have a history of selling things to Microsoft. Let's look at Rare, right? In all those properties.
Perfect Dark. Yeah.
Kevin, could you imagine if we finally got a Master Chief Samus mashup there? I would love that.
I mean, there are rumors that Nintendo and Microsoft are going to have a bigger partnership coming soon. So, it's definitely not out of the question.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to keep it moving. And Dan, I think you'll probably have something to say about our next story here. Super Mario Maker 2 players have now uploaded more than 26 million courses. That's just incredible. So this is from Liam Doolin over at NintendoLife.com. Quote, last month, Nintendo ran its last Ninja Speedrun event for Super Mario Maker 2. It's officially marked the end of its ongoing support for the game. Despite this, it seems the community of Super Mario Maker 2 is still very busy constructing courses, with a post on Nintendo's Japanese webpage revealing players have now created more than 26 million courses since the game was released on Switch in 2019. The last course figure update before this was September of 2020. When it was revealed, players had uploaded more than 20 million courses, so 26 million courses and counting isn't bad for a game that delivered its last major content update in April of 2020. What do you guys think about this? Why is Super Mario Maker 2 having so much success? What makes its community so special? And are there any lessons Nintendo can take away from this for other franchises? Dan, I know you're really big into Super Mario Maker 2. What are your thoughts on this?
I think the community just keeps it alive. I'm part of a lot of Mario Maker communities on like Facebook and Discord and stuff like that. And like one of the communities I'm part of is still doing like competitions every month where you have 2 weeks to make a level and everybody competes their levels. It's really good. And there's also like the team levels, Team Jamp, Team Shell, there's stuff like that, which it's its own dedicated website where if you beat a level, you get a certain amount of points and go up in rankings. The creativity with it is just like endless. I still play Mario Maker 2 all the time, and I have friends that are making full worlds too. Like the game just has so much to offer if you're surrounded by the right people in the community, because that's basically what it's piggybacking off of.
Corey, I know that you've tried some of Dan's levels in the past. Any thoughts on this news? Do you dabble in Mario Maker 2?
It's been a while. I actually just re-downloaded it because they announced that that new game maker, what's it called? Creator Garage or something, which we'll get to, I'm sure. But it's I actually re-downloaded it. I'm kind of surprised, but I'm not surprised because look how big Mario Maker was on the Wii U, and that console sold, a tenth of what the Switch is going to sell in its lifetime, right? Like it Mario Maker takes the ease of what these modders have been doing for decades at this point and just makes it so easy to make these levels. And I really got into Mario Maker probably the first month and a half to 2 months it was out. And then I got sidetracked by Fire Emblem, and then I honestly just haven't touched it really a lot since then. But just not because of this news, but mostly because some of our community, especially Dan, plays it so much that I'm like, I think it would be cool if we did Mario Maker levels for our community and stuff, and have them like recorded or see if we can play their levels or whatever. But it doesn't surprise me one bit. I wish it was a little bit easier to discover cool levels from other people. Like sharing with your friends, I think is simple, right? But finding others it's been a challenge because Nintendo's online isn't exactly the greatest, setup. But I'm not surprised. I think it's great. I'm glad this community is thriving.
Well, that's why the community steps up for the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would have enjoyed Mario Maker 2 as much if I didn't know these people that are making these levels and, like, see them sharing it and stuff like that. So I think that's as to what you said, like, that's really the best way to do it. And unfortunately, Nintendo doesn't have a good way to do it on theirs, aside from, like, you can customize your searches, but it still might not fit what you want.
Right.
It seems like with Super Mario Maker 2, it's an example of Nintendo finally giving fans what they've asked for or what they want. And for me, I wish that Nintendo would do that with other franchises. Like, obviously, I'm really big in the Zelda community, in terms of my involvement with the Zelda community. And all the time, people talk about wanting
in the Zelda community?
Yeah. all the time people talk about wanting a dungeon builder, right? And so I wish that Nintendo would do for Zelda fans what they've done for Mario fans and giving them a way to create and have a community. Also having any kind of Zelda gameplay online. Zelda's tried multiplayer games in the past, but because of the way they were set up, they didn't really work well. But with the Switch, it's kind of the dream system to do that.
Try Force Heroes.
Yeah. I mean, exactly, right? Or Force. I mean,
did you not play Link's Awakening on the Switch with that awesome dungeon builder?
But you know what? I actually didn't mind the dungeon builder, but they only made it so you could share a dungeon physically by putting it on an amiibo and then going and bringing it to your friend's Switch. I mean, how ridiculous is that when we have internet connection? Right? Like, why did they do that?
I didn't know they did it that way. That's so.
I mean, you might as well just bust out your N64 controller and remember the the Pokemon transfer thing that was like this big, and you put your cartridge in it to transfer Pokemon to your friends through N64 on Pokemon Stadium. Oh, it's the best.
Stoy, any closing thoughts on this story?
Well, going back to finding good levels, like, I mean, I guess I can't fault Nintendo for not doing a good job of it, because when I didn't know that there was 26 million self-created levels out there. I mean, how do you pick out those one or two really good ones that are kind of a little bit underground and bring those up to where people can play them? I mean, that's got to be, you got to have people like curating those levels like on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, it seems like Nintendo's pretty much mostly done with that and just kind of letting it be. But I was saying with Corey, I played it a lot for the first month, and I think that game really hit it off because that game was so easy. Like, it's video game development like in a very easy point and click way, and you could run the levels so easily. And it also helped out that Video Game Donkey. It seems like every time he puts out a video, that game's numbers skyrockets. So every time he puts out a Super Mario Maker 2 level or video, I think he helps the game out a lot. So,
all right, well, continue our Metroid theme here. Our next story revisits the popular or unpopular with Nintendo franchise here. So in the Epic versus Apple document included in the court records, there was a Samus Aran skin for Fortnite. So this is also from Brian at NintendoEverything.com. Epic and Apple have been going head-to-head in court with a new case that officially started today. After Fortnite previously bypassed Apple's payment system so that the company wouldn't receive commission, the game was removed from the App Store. Epic was none too pleased with the move and has regularly expressed dissatisfaction with Apple taking 30% of revenue earned on the digital marketplace. The start of the lawsuit has brought forth a document that reveals all sorts of interesting information about Fortnite, including plans that were either scrapped or could have been happening in the future. This includes a whole bunch of skins that have never been mentioned before. Nintendo fans would be interested to see that there's one page dedicated entirely to Samus from Metroid. There are a bunch of other possible skins as well, including Naruto. So just want to ask the panel what you think about this. What happened here? Because Samus never made it in the season that was dealing with bounty hunters, which was the season before this one. We never had a Samus appear. It was rumored. It was rumored at the Game Awards. People were expecting an announcement. Didn't happen. Do you think Epic Games just decided not to use the Samus skin, or did Nintendo pull the plug because it was leaked? And do you think having a Metroid skin in Fortnite would help resurrect that franchise a bit? Dan, what do you think's going on here? If you put on your Nintendo glasses for a minute and think about what the company's thinking.
I have no idea. I know it's like pretty. I know it's pretty standard for people to be like, "Oh, well, they found the leak and they pulled the plug." I don't believe that they do that. I don't even believe that in the Zelda Netflix
live action.
Series. Yeah, I don't even believe that.
Why do you have a hard time believing that? Just out of curiosity.
It just seems so petty. Like even for Nintendo.
Yeah.
I was like, have you seen Nintendo before, Dan? Because
okay, but there's a difference. Like they're just like so black and white with consumer laws, but this is like I this isn't part of consumer law. Like that's like you have to actually make your own decision versus the law making the decision for you. That's why I think that's more petty than what Nintendo is used to. So, but I mean, I don't really have an opinion on this Epic versus Apple case. To be quite honest, I haven't really looked into it either.
Corey, do you think Nintendo was being petty here and pulled the plug? We have full images of the skin, so it was clearly developed. It was in the company's internal documents. Why did it not end up making it into Fortnite?
I think that Epic makes a lot of skins as prototypes to pitch to companies, so that because I mean, Fortnite accounted for 97% of Epic's revenue last year. So they have developers just working on stuff just to work on stuff because they're bored or they have a lot of money to waste or something. And someone was like, hey, bounty hunter season, come up with the coolest bounty hunters you can find and we'll use the best ones. And if we need a license, we'll try to go get it. And I'm sure since Epic developed a Metroidvania called, what was that one that they did? That, shoot.
From Epic?
Yeah, from Chair. Ooh. And the I can see it. It was
somebody needs to Google that.
It was an Xbox Live Arcade game for the 360. Shadow Complex.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
So somebody in house was a fan. Then.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody in house was a fan, and they're like, hey, what if we tried to get Samus in here? Develop that skin. We'll talk to Nintendo. And, maybe their deal fell through. Maybe they just got a flat no from Nintendo, but they developed the skin, right? I mean, Lara Croft and Aloy this season, right? Like, Aloy was rumored to come out last season as well, and they might not have gotten the dump or the okay from Sony to put her in yet. So, I don't know. It's probably just this weird thing where they're like, hey, we're bored. Let's create skins and see if we can put them in later. Because there's all kinds of skins that are unused in this Epic court case besides Samus. There's like Rambo's in there. There's a bunch of like movie characters that are in there that they haven't used. There's a bunch of licensed DC characters that they haven't used. There's a ton of character skins in there that they haven't used. And it's just what Fortnite is. So, I don't know. Is Nintendo being petty though? Probably, because it's Nintendo, and Nintendo likes to make people mad. And then, as soon as they'll give a thumbs up when they're ready, and they'll be like, "Hey, look at us! We're the heroes. We put our character in a different franchise."
Well, it's funny you say that because now that Sony has characters in there, and of course Microsoft has Master Chief in Fortnite, Nintendo is now the only one of the big three that's not allowed their characters to be in Fortnite.
And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, hey, Microsoft and Sony went around the same time, and maybe Nintendo didn't want to be caught up in the hype of the other two consoles. You know what I mean? Like it's... that's honestly what I feel is like Nintendo wants the spotlight to themselves. They're not going to throw... I mean, Kratos and Master Chief are huge, and you throw Samus in there, we just talked about it. Samus is not popular, right? I mean, she's popular with us, but she's not popular, and just get steamrolled by these other characters. So, and The Mandalorian also that season,
Stoy, you as somebody that has played Metroid in the past, how impactful do you think it would be to get Samus into Fortnite as a skin? Do you think that would make a difference at all?
I think it would, and that's why I think Nintendo is playing this close to the chest, because I would not be surprised if maybe they were trying to time this with the almost near release of Metroid Prime 4. So, like, if they were timing this out to have the skin be available, and I mean, young kids are playing this game that have probably never even heard of Metroid, ever, or even know who Samus is. Oh, what character is this game from? Oh, it's from this game Metroid, and a new game is coming out this year. That may be genius marketing on their part.
Yeah, because there's a lot of internal documents too that Xbox thought all these huge games from Nintendo were coming out in 2020. They thought Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime, and Bayonetta were all coming out last year.
Well, and they probably were, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the pandemic delayed a lot of things. That's why I think I was predicting Nintendo and Microsoft to have a huge E3 this year with all these announcements that are just going to be blowing us out of the water. But I think they're playing this one close to the chest to kind of time it with the release of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, and to drag this out really longer, but like, remember, Nintendo delayed Mario's 35th anniversary stuff by 6 months, and that stuff was near done,
Right.
So.
Yeah. I just to wrap this up, I do think Epic Games might be, maybe they're part of the tension with Nintendo, if there is tension, though. Certainly there was that story that came out this week, which we're not covering today, that Epic expected a first-party exclusive from Nintendo. I don't know if you guys saw that story. There seems to be sort of these interesting little bits leaking out into the news about a not quite functional relationship between Nintendo and Epic Games.
It doesn't seem like Epic gets along with anybody, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they in that interview, though,
big for their own good.
Tim Sweeney did say, he was like, it was a moonshot to get anything from Nintendo, but we had to try, right? But I mean, Microsoft and Sony games are coming to PC now too, so I mean, he wasn't wrong. Two-thirds of them were not wrong, so I don't know.
Nintendo just doesn't play nice with others. All right, well, here's our last story, and I'm really excited to talk about this one. So Nintendo announces Game Builder Garage. This is from their official press release from Nintendo. Programming made fun. Have you ever dreamed of building your own video games? The Game Builder Garage software is a great place to start. Anyone can learn the basics of game design and visual programming with step-by-step lessons created by the minds at Nintendo. So when I first got into teaching a decade ago, teaching at high school, one of the very first classes I ever got to teach was a programming class around the software Game Maker, which I think you accidentally mentioned earlier in the podcast here, Corey. And man, I just fell in love with the idea of having these tools that are accessible to kind of make your own video games. And I just remember how fun that was. And I think for one of my class models, I recreated the overworld of the original Legend of Zelda or something like that. It was just, it felt like there were endless possibilities if you're willing to put the effort in. And just seeing this come out for Nintendo really reminded me a lot of that with Game Maker, how much fun that can be and a great tool for kids. And I'm excited about this. So
this seems like
go for it, Corey.
This seems like somewhere between a mix of like, okay, so Mario Maker was like, here's our game maker for 2D platformers, right? And you can do obviously we own Mario, you're going to use Mario. This seems like somewhere in the middle of like Little Big Planet meets Dreams, but like super accessible, right? I mean, Dreams is an amazing suite to make your own games. Like, you can literally do anything in that, but it is not accessible at all. It is incredibly difficult to do anything in that game. Whereas Little Big Planet is like, okay, you got the little rope and you can like tie things together or whatever. It's cute, but you can't really do the things that you want. This seems like a nice middle ground. And judging by what Nintendo did with Mario Maker, I feel like they're going to nail it. Now, the one thing that I have noticed in this program is that it looks like it might have started off as some sort of Labo kit, and then they scrapped the Labo part, right?
That's a dirty word there. We want to be careful.
I was going to
say.
It just looks like the stuff that they were doing with Labo, and like the Labo stuff was super interesting, and I wonder if they were just like, look, let's just put this out for $30. Nobody's going to buy any more cardboard. It was a fad for like 6 months. Nobody bought the last thing we did, which I don't even remember what it was.
This is the VR
That was
Labo.
the VR thing. Yeah, you had to hold it.
Oh, God.
Oh, what? No, pass. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I'm really interested in this because programming has been something I've been lightly interested in for a long time, and I'm just not great at math or programming in general, so this seems right up my alley.
Stoy, what about you? What were your reactions to this story? Does this go the way of Labo, or is this something that's Nintendo magic?
I think it's going to be Nintendo magic because I've played around with. I've had that dream of like creating my own video game, and I remember tooling around with Little Big Planet back in the day. I tooled around with Game Maker, Project Spark. That was Microsoft's thing during the Xbox One days. and that was fun to play around with. But and then I also recently messing around with Unity and Unreal Engine, and to get common people into it is you have to make it simple. You can go in depth to code and work the programming language if you know the language, because even like working with C# way back in the day, like that was a pain in the butt to learn. But if Nintendo comes out with this, their Nintendo magic to make it easy and accessible, if they learned anything from Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2, I think this is going to be a good start for kids to learn and even like maybe go more into it.
Mm-hmm. Dan, as the last thought on this, do you have any hopes or expectations for this?
I think it's going to be more limited than people think. Mario Maker is fantastic, but it does have its limits too. I mean, I've been kind of a game making junkie since I was a kid. Like I was, even on AOL, I had downloaded RPG Maker 95 and like RPG Maker 2000, and I was like obsessed with that growing up, and I love Dreams and I love Mario Maker, and now I've learned C# and do a lot with Unity. But I think people might be a little disappointed, thinking it's going to be more than it is. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that game sharing is going to be pretty easy on it too. That's kind of my big worry, because I can't wait to play Mother 3 and Kid Icarus that everybody else makes. So I'm hoping that we can play some other people's games pretty easily on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our family news segment. So Dan?
Cool. Thanks, David. Before we do our Game Fact Advance, I just wanted to give a couple of quick shout-outs. Friend of the show and writer for Game Rant, Grayson Morales, left us a really nice review on Apple Podcasts. Guys, we'd love to hear your feedback, so please reach out on Twitter or let us know how we're doing on the Apple reviews. And also shout out to the whole Monster Hunter channel on our Discord. That channel's always popping off every time I go on there. There's too many to name. I think there's Infinite Zero, Rice-A-Roni, Auditor. A couple of your guys are on there, Stoy and
Auditor and Salty Barnacle. That's all they talk about.
Oh yeah, they're on there all the time. I've done some hunts with them. So if you guys like Monster Hunter, check out our Discord. Hop on there and talk to these guys, because I think they might need more people to talk to after flooded each other with that. So thank you guys. And Corey, give us the Game Fact Advance.
All right. Well, I have a good one. I wrote it out. Okay, this is going to be So, all right, here we go. So, my Game Fact Advance is about 12 Tales Conquer 64, the original version of Conquer's Bad Fur Day. A fun fact about everyone's favorite beer-guzzling, poo-fighting, curse-word slinging squirrel. We all know him from Conquer's Bad Fur Day, but the game did not start out as the mature title we know today. In fact, it was first announced as Conquer's Quest, then changing its name to 12 Tales Conquer 64. The developer Rare showed it off at E3 1997. They changed the trajectory of the lovable squirrel well into development, however, so that they wouldn't get lost in the overwhelming landscape of cutesy critter mascots of the time. And so, what was supposed to be his first game actually became his third appearance. Debuting in Diddy Kong Racing as one of the racers next to Banjo, Diddy Kong, and others, he then leapt onto the Game Boy Color in his debut game Conker's Pocket Tales, which was acting as a prequel to 12 Tales Conquer 64 due to the prolonged development. Conker's solo debut on console came late in 2001, right before the launch of the GameCube, and around the time Nintendo sold their ownership of Rare to Microsoft. But the kicker, Nintendo did not know Rare changed the game until it was too close to publishing it, similar to how they added multiplayer to GoldenEye 6 months before ship. And since they were about to launch their next console, Nintendo let them go. The Nintendo 64 game is highly sought after to this day, with complete in-box copies worth upwards of $200. The Conker IP is now owned by Microsoft, with games including a full remake of the original Xbox called Conker Live and Reloaded, a stint in Rare Replay with a remastered N64 version, and of course his short-lived free game called Conker's Big Reunion in Microsoft's Project Spark, a game development tool a la Little Big Planet, though quite more in-depth, which released during the launch window of the Xbox One. So there's your Game Packed Advance this week.
Wow. I did
awesome.
not remember that. Well, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, no, I was just saying that is awesome.
I didn't realize that he was in Diddy Kong Racing. That was one of my favorite racing games. I actually liked it even better than Mario Kart at that time. I did not remember that at all.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I liked Diddy Kong Racing a lot back then too, because it had an adventure mode and you could fly planes.
Yep.
So
That's cool. It's actually going for $265, like complete inbox.
Are you serious?
If you just buy the cartridge itself, it's $131 on average.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I have it
Yeah,
complete inbox
I don't know if you
downstairs.
guys pay attention to video game collecting at all, but old school video game prices have gone up in the last year, like significantly, and it's wild. I don't know why, but like, yeah, especially Conker's Bad Fur Day. Ever since May 2020, like complete inbox was $150. Then it just jumps like $100, $120 like over a year. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Collector stuff is just like booming right now. I know there's just like a big bubble of baseball and football cards that are selling like for crazy rates on eBay right now. So I don't know what's happening with all that.
People are getting nostalgic in the shutdown.
Yeah, I know. They're just like perusing the internet and all day, you know.
All right.
Maybe that's it.
Let's get into our docked mode. Last week, Nintendo released their financials on the 6th. So we like to go over them and see how they're doing. And one thing that's staying consistent with Nintendo's financials over the last year and a half, is that they're absolutely killing it. So the company reported a revenue of $16.59 billion. That's up 34% year over year, the highest since 2008. 2009. Their operating profit was $6.04 billion, up 81%. And this is the highest operating profit the company has ever recorded. And the total sales for Nintendo Switch are now up to 84.59 million. The Switch has only been out for, I believe, what is it now? 4 years?
4.5 years, I think, or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it released in March or February of 17.
17. Yeah.
So
same time as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, 48 months with it selling that much. So, just to kick it off with that, the Switch right now is at 84 million. And it's sitting right behind PlayStation 3, which is in 7th place for all-time consoles at 87.4 million. But Nintendo's highest-selling console is the Wii at 101.63 million. Guys, where is this going to land on the top consoles? I mean, it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. And if there is a variant of the Switch, is this going to slow it down? David, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be the best-selling console for Nintendo for all time when it's done. And the part of the reason I think that is because I think we're only halfway through the Switch's life. I think when a Switch Pro comes out, and I do think we're going to get that announcement here soon, I think that's kind of the second 4 years of this generation of console for Nintendo. And one of the things that I think has allowed them to sell so well, besides the fact that it's, portable and all that, which is its own thing worth talking about, but the customization that you can get, like we've bought 4 Switches in our house now because I bought a Switch Lite for each of my kids. Wow. I have the original, and then my wife wanted the Animal Crossing one. That was what got her into playing Switch, and it's like I've had consoles my whole life growing up, but I don't remember one that you could customize this much to really be meeting your needs. And I think that's generated a lot of sales for Nintendo.
Right. What do you think, Stoy?
I think it's definitely going to be passing the Wii sales mark pretty soon. Like I would say in less than a year.
Yeah, I would think it would I think it would oversell probably by Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. And if they coincide this with the Switch Pro coming out this summer or whenever they decide to come out with it, and then they drop the price of it, the regular Switch, all of them by like $50, which I think customarily is what they do. Like it's just going to keep steamrolling those sales of people buying second, third, or fourth Switches just to have them in the house, because this is a definite easy system to have, multiples of. I don't have 4, but
Corey?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to outsell the Wii this year, especially if they announce the Switch Pro at some point, because everybody that's some sort of hardcore Nintendo player or has a nice TV, a nice 4K TV, they're going to be wanting to play the best versions of those Nintendo games, right? And I'm one of them. I already said if once the Switch Pro gets announced, I'm buying one, right? I'm just gonna buy it. Yeah. So yeah, as far as where it's gonna land, it's probably gonna hit close to the 115, 120 million by the time this thing is over.
So
right?
The top 3 selling consoles of all time are PlayStation 2 at 155 million. This is and handhelds. Nintendo DS at 154.02 million. And
Which
then
that's crazy.
I know.
The DS, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and way down in third place is Game Boy and Game Boy Color at 118.69 million. So there's a big gap between
It'll pass Game Boy. I don't think it'll pass the DS or the PS2.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's a little bit too lofty.
The PS2 had such a long lifespan, though. Like, even after it was done here in the Americas, like in South America, after it was like done selling in Europe and here and Japan and stuff, Brazil's tariffs and stuff are so bad that like the PS2 didn't become popular until after the PS3 came out here. And and it got a second life, and that's why they made games like MLB The Show, the fourth Jack and Daxter game that nobody talks about, which was actually really good. Like they made a whole bunch of games because it still sold. I still have my slim white PS2 downstairs that I bought for $99 just to have a backup.
Well, yeah, and I think the last games they made for the PlayStation 2 were FIFA, which hit that market beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Can I just get in on I want to talk about those numbers because you'll notice that some of Nintendo's best-selling systems of all time are handhelds. And I think that's one reason that Switch is going to break those records, because there is no more handheld Nintendo market. And all those people that have bought Nintendo over the years because it's handheld, it's combining those markets into the Switch. And so I think it just has such legs to keep selling for a really long time because it's portable.
Yeah, I agree with you, David.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it lands in that third spot of all time selling consoles. I think it beats out the Game Boy and Game Boy Color at 118 million. And, when I was reading off some of these numbers, the company reported 16.59 their $1 billion. They're up year over year. They're up like so much. And I mean, this is due to the pandemic, right? What do you guys think?
Nintendo caused the pandemic.
Well, they're sure as hell making money from it. So.
Well, yeah, that's why I was saying this before the recording. Like, I kind of low-key think they caused it because they wanted to boost Switch sales. I don't really think that's true. Like I said, I hands down don't think that's true. But it's just kind of the funny timing that I always say this out loud, that it's funny timing that when the shutdowns happened, Animal Crossing came out and became one of the biggest selling franchises of that system's lifespan.
Isn't that crazy that game has sold that much in a year?
Yeah.
In a year. Mario Kart didn't sell that in a year.
The the thing is too, it's like the other gaming systems weren't prospering the same way that Nintendo was. I mean, what was it about? Was it Animal Crossing that was selling systems?
Yes,
I think
it
so.
was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's an interesting little bit of history to, about Breath of the Wild originally was supposed to be coming out on the Wii U, and it almost was a Wii U exclusive, and then Nintendo ended up deciding to release it with the Switch, and it became available both on the Switch and the Wii U. And that one absolutely was responsible for the Switch being viewed the way it was. If we didn't get Breath of the Wild, I don't think the Switch would have been viewed the way it was. And so I think similarly, you could say Animal Crossing is probably the second most important game to ever come out on Switch for that same reason, that it came out at the exact time that it needed to establish the Switch as the destination for escaping the pandemic.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, my fiance has never touched a video game controller in her life, and I would come home from work and she's sitting on the couch trying to catch fish and bugs on Animal Crossing. It was really quite the revelation. But
my mom, same thing. My mom never wanted to touch a video game in her life, but then all of a sudden asked me about this game, Animal Crossing. And then for her birthday, my brother and I brought her a Switch Lite and the game, and she still to this day plays it every day.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I actually loved that Animal Crossing Switch that came out. I really wanted the Joy-Cons.
That's awesome. Not to be a broken record here, but same situation. My wife has never played video games the entire time I've known her. She has over 300 hours into Animal Crossing right now. And just this week is trying a survival horror game. She's playing Alien Isolation, something I never thought I would see, because she's willing to try it now because Animal Crossing got her into it. Like, it's just so
wow,
important game.
Yeah, it's a gateway.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a gateway drug, apparently. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the pandemic and the boost from the pandemic. Do you guys see these numbers going down in 2021, or are they going to stay consistent now that they have more people buying consoles and everything? Where do they go from here? What do you think, Corey?
I think it all depends on that Switch Pro model. If it goes up, I think they have a good chance of staying even with last year, right? I don't know if it's going to go over unless they have some big announcement that we don't know about yet, right?
Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah. I mean,
Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, I still don't think that's coming this year.
I don't think it's coming ever.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think the Switch is just it's so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable because, I mean, how many people are going to go out and buy this blue Switch Lite, right? Like, that thing is amazing. It looks cool. I want one so bad. And
the Switch Lite is such a reasonable price to just be like, yeah, I think I can get the blue one.
Right? Like, it's just like, it'll sit under my entertainment center and never be played. But I don't know. I think the Switch is it's an interesting beast.
What about you, David?
I think not only are these numbers here to stay, but I think they're going to increase for two reasons. I think once people become a part of the Nintendo family, by and large, they stick around. And I do think there's room for people to eventually get their hands on a PlayStation 5 and still be obsessed with Switch. I think they're not competitive against each other in that way. But I do think Nintendo creates some brand loyalty in people. And then I think the second reason is I think we're about to see some monster titles get released or announced at E3 from Nintendo. I just based on how they talked about, there was another Direct coming this year. They got out of the way a lot of their smaller titles. It feels like we're going to get some major announcements, and I think that's going to sell. I think we're going to get some big titles to release the Switch Pro, and I think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be one of those.
Nice. What about you, Stoy?
I think it's all contingent on the Switch Pro coming out. That I think these numbers will continually grow if they come out Pro, because when you look at the numbers for PlayStation 5, they're selling. I think they've almost sold 8 million at this point. And that number is going to steadily climb the moment more of these systems start to come out, whenever they can catch up with supply. So Nintendo has to come out with an option. Otherwise, their sales are going to dip, and then they're going to be scrambling a little bit too late to enter into the market with the next gen system. So coming out with the Switch Pro, I think, is financially beneficial for them to continually grow. And yeah, obviously they won't be competing against, Xbox and PlayStation 5 because, hardware wise they're different. But Nintendo can stand on its own, but they still need to be relevant with this current generation. So
yeah, for sure. And I also think, with all these new people that are buying Switch, like, it's bringing in casual gamers the same way that we brought in casual gamers, right? And I think the fact that it has this portability is actually going to bring more people in, because I travel a lot for work, and I'm seeing more and more people from like crazy different age ranges. I'm talking like 8 years old to like 55-year-old, just hanging out and playing Switch at the airport, or like, while they're waiting for the bus or something like that. And I think people are seeing this and just catching on because, we've also just talked about this with Animal Crossing. Like, there's going to be a game for everybody on the Switch right now. And if it's this portable and this accessible, I think that they can just keep up the same numbers. I think people are just going to catch on. The more you see it, it sells for itself. So do you guys have any more thoughts about that? Or do you want to talk about how much the games are selling?
Let's get into the games. There's some stuff in there I'm interested to talk about.
Okay, cool. So the software sales reached 230.88 million for the year. That's one full year just selling games. That's a 36.8 YOY on that. And it says 36 Switch games have sold over 1 million units in the 12-month period, including 22 Nintendo titles and 14 titles from other software publishers. What's a little bit surprising to me is that the top 10 stayed the same. This is the 10th to the first selling. Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Pokemon Let's Go, Super Mario Party, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Bros., and top 2, Animal Crossing, who had sold 32.63 million units in 1 year, is right behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 35.39 million. So Nintendo's digital sales accounted for 42.8% of the total software for the fiscal year, which went up, but I'm actually surprised. I thought it'd be a little higher with the pandemic. The year before it was 34%. So the lifetime Switch software sales stand at 587 million units sold as of March 31st.
And the crazy thing is, Dan, based on those numbers, they only count physical sales numbers. The NPD only counts physical sales.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is just crazy. They're absolutely crushing it. And then before we just start discussing it, here's the best selling first-party games from April 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. Starting from the bottom, Pokemon Let's Go, Xenoblade Chronicles Deluxe, 1.52 million. Super Mario Maker 2 still sold 1.67 million over that course. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity at 3.07 million. Paper Mario Origami King, Clubhouse Games, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Mario Brothers Deluxe, Mario Party, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild sold 4.86 million last year.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury sold 5.6 million, and that just came out in February. So that's a lot of sales in 7 weeks.
Yeah,
Ring Fit Adventure. This one is pretty surprising. 7.38 million last year. Then third is Super Mario 3D All-Stars at 9.01. Mario Kart 8 sold 10.62 million, and way out in front is Animal Crossing New Horizons at 20.85, which means 12 million units sold in its first 12 days. Which is just insane. I was one of those, so... so just to kick it off, the top 10 stayed exactly the same. We have a few knocking on the door down there. With Luigi's Mansion is at 9.59, Mario 3D All-Stars is 901. What's it going to take for a new game to break the top 10, and what game is it going to be? David, start it off.
Well, I mean, if you're asking me what game's going to break in there, it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. That's probably the next game. Or if Nintendo shocks us by starting E3 announcing that Mario Kart 9 is here. Other than that, I don't really see a new game breaking in that list, because I think what we're actually seeing is there's now like a collection of games that you need to buy if you're a new Switch owner. I think the reason we're seeing those numbers stay constant is everybody that buys a Switch, okay, I'm getting Mario Kart, I'm buying Animal Crossing, and I'm getting Smash Brothers and Breath of the Wild, right? And so those numbers continue to stay steady, even as games like Animal Crossing's becoming stagnant in some ways. I mean, there was a rumor this week that we might be seeing a massive update for that, but new people buying Switches are still going and buying those games. So I don't see anything breaking into those numbers unless something massive comes out from Nintendo.
Right. What about you, Corey?
I mean, like David said, if Mario Kart 9 gets announced, I feel like that would be an easy one. Maybe if Mario Odyssey 2 gets announced, but Breath of the Wild 2 is the easy one. I don't know, because like Mario Party just got that nice update, right? Like that free update that was 70 mini games and actually added online functionality, like
all of a sudden.
Yeah. So if they added like a Mario Party 2, like Super Mario Party 2, or maybe even Mario Golf, if it has a nice online mode or something like that, right?
That's a good one.
Like, I feel like Mario Golf, not that like Mario Tennis was bad, but I think the sports game everybody wants is Mario Golf, right?
That's a great pick.
Yeah. I could see Mario Golf selling 10 million units easy, right? Like over the next year. I really could. So I could see something like that breaking into the top 10, but it's going to be really difficult because everybody always talks about games as a service on the other platforms, right? Like The Division or Destiny or, some of these other bigger titles. Nintendo has secretly been doing that with Animal Crossing and Smash Brothers and even Mario Kart to an extent, right? Like they just don't advertise it as that because, Nintendo is 10 years behind everybody else. But I mean, Animal Crossing is a great example of a game as a service, right? The seasons change, events change, holidays change, and they're right there to update it, right? And Look how well it did. 32 million units in a year. That's wild.
Awesome.
I feel like the Mario Kart cell phone game is something that they're toying with for Mario Kart 9, right? Where, okay, yeah, we're going to sell you a $60 product, but battle passes exist. What's to say they don't give you cool skins for characters in a battle pass for an event, like a weekend event, right?
Right.
They could easily do something like that.
Mario Tennis Aces does stuff like that, and I really wish Mario Kart would do that.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, I guess Mario Kart 8, they needed a game at launch, and Mario Kart's an easy sell, right? But I would love a new Mario Kart. Not that Mario Kart 8's bad or anything, but I've been playing it for 7 years at this point. I need some new tracks, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even care if you sell me DLC.
We'll hold off on the Mario Kart talk.
Yeah, I know.
We get a fan question about that. So, what about you, Stoy? Who do you think's breaking the top 10, and what's it going to take?
Well, basically all the games that you guys talked about, and this is why Nintendo will not give a whiff about any other franchise besides Mario and Zelda and Animal Crossing now, basically, because those are the three franchises that make them the most money. So, this is where the incentive comes in. Okay, do we put money into developing another Mario game that will sell gangbusters, or do we put it in a smaller franchise like, for example, Xenoblade Chronicles hopped on that top 20 list, which only sold 1 million copies. A great game, but yeah, such a niche fan base there. But, Nintendo will be like, well, there's no incentive to keep developing this routinely when we could just keep pumping out Mario and Zelda games all the time. But yeah, obviously Odyssey 2 is going to be the big one for me. That's going to really sell for them, and Breath of the Wild 2, like everybody else said. Like I said, I'm holding on hope that Metroid will grace that list and hopefully sell some units. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I got a sleeper pick of a new Mario Party. I think with them doing this online update recently, I feel like this is a beta test for the new Super Mario Party that's going to be coming out at E3. Yeah. And that's going to be one that cracks the top 10, especially if it has new games and new boards, everything like that, because this was so basic, and it still is way up there in the top 10.
Dan, could I ask you that really quick? In thinking about a new Mario Party coming out, do you think at least part of that would be because Nintendo finally updated their server and their online gaming platform?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be going towards their Switch Pro. I think they're really going to start focusing on their online, because it's just been so bad with the Switch. There's some matches of Smash Brothers that are just almost unplayable on it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's my pick, and I think you guys, Mario Golf, we'll see. I'm kind of surprised at a couple games not popping up on either of these lists. Like, I'm surprised Fire Emblem didn't crack that top 20, and Super Mario Maker 2. I feel like they've sold 7.15 million units lifetime. I thought that would be one for sure to crack the top 10, but I don't know. We'll see.
Niche titles. I mean, good games in their own right, but when you look at the fan base that Nintendo has, it's more of those casual gamers that don't want to play a 35-hour-long waifu simulator that is Fire Emblem, So,
hey, the battles are great, you guys.
I'm sure they are. Maybe there's a lot of good gameplay there. I get it, but everything I hear about Fire Emblem, it's all about teachers getting with their students. Like, what the heck kind of game is this?
All right, there's a time hop. They get older. They're not students anymore. But
sure, fine. Fine.
So, I mean, Fire Emblem not being in the top 20 is kind of my surprise for that. Did you guys have any surprises going over that list in the top 20?
Could I ask how much representation did Pokemon have on there? Because I don't know that I heard a whole. I know Sword and Shield, obviously, but like,
I thought Let's Go and Sword and Shield were on there, right?
So Pokemon Let's Go was number 20 at 1.31 million.
Okay.
Pokemon Sword and Shield is number 10 at 3.73 million. So those are the two Pokemon, and I guess Mystery Dungeon came out about a year ago, and then
Detective Pikachu when did Detective Pikachu wasn't there a game for that too? Am I mistaken in that?
I think that's a movie.
Well, I'm gonna know there's the movie, but okay, all right. I swear that there there was the amiibo. There was the amiibo. That's
I wasn't trying to be a wise ass. I actually just don't know Pokemon.
Yeah. That's fine. No. Okay. Yeah. I guess I was thinking that Pokemon Snap, but that's still too new. But it'll be interesting thinking about next year's list with the 3 Pokemon games that they've advertised, including Snap. I think those will be really represented. But I don't know about any surprises for not being on there this year.
Okay. Honestly, I'm actually surprised Witcher 3 wasn't on there, at least like in the 1 million range. I mean, I didn't buy it myself, but I know that has a huge fan base. And from what I heard, the game actually ran pretty decent. I mean, it obviously it wouldn't be beneficial to run it on handheld mode, but there's the appeal of it because it still ran pretty decent there. But I'm surprised at least it didn't break the 1 million mark.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of games on this list that kind of surprised me. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, 3.07 million. I thought that game would sell more. I don't know.
Any chance Dan gets the dump on this game?
I was gonna say, he complimented it just now. How the heck?
I really thought this was a game that would be like 8 to 10 million, but I mean, maybe it was the horrible story they implemented.
Oh God!
But
I just you know what? Get time travel out of my friggin' games, okay?
I'm with you.
It's Zelda. It's all time travel.
I know, but like this whole alternate timeline thing, like,
oh God.
There's three timelines, Stoy. Come on, keep up.
I was going to say, I have issues with the timeline in general anyway. But just the way they played it in Hyrule Warriors. I mean, it was a great game in terms of gameplay, but man, that story, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fan fiction, so.
Yeah.
And
it's the best-selling Mosu game of all time.
It is. And you know what? Maybe it'll bring new fans in. But yeah, I mean, just being a Zelda game and only sitting at 3 million was really surprising to me. And Ring Fit Adventure, 7.38 million units sold. That's pandemic bloat, but like that one was really surprising to me.
Yeah.
Corey,
it's better than Wii Fit.
I never tried Wii Fit.
Oh, it's horrible. The Wii board. Yeah, exactly.
I wonder how many Ring Fit rings have broken.
I heard that thing is pretty tough.
It's durable.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people in our Discord community that use it too. I feel like we would have heard about something breaking.
Yeah.
So, any of you guys got any other surprises you want to talk about?
No, I'm kind of surprised that Hyrule Warriors didn't sell more. I wonder if it's because it didn't say Zelda directly in the title, or they marketed it as a prequel where, sometimes prequels don't sell as well because it's, generally it's like an outsourced team or a secondary team or another company altogether that makes the prequel games while the company's gearing up for, the next sequel for the next generation or whatever. But that really surprised me, especially with how well Breath of the Wild has sold. Like Hyrule Warriors, I feel like should have sold more. But
especially since you get the chance to fight alongside of the champions.
Yeah.
Right.
How cool, thinking about that, playing Breath of the Wild, like, oh man, it'd be cool to actually fight alongside these characters in an actual game. And it's like, here you go.
Yeah. But, and they added a 5th character to be thirsty for.
Yeah.
Young Impa, everybody's thirsty for. So, I mean.
Oh, man.
I guess you can go to DeviantArt for free, I guess.
So the last thing we'll touch up on these financials is research and development spent a record high $880 million in fiscal 2020. And this number actually is a lower percentage than what they usually distribute towards research and development. But since their sales are so insanely high, this is like blowing out a number total out of the water. So the president discussed the company's approach to developing and launching new gaming hardware in an interview published in February. He said they don't have a specific time frame in mind for hardware development. Rather, it's constantly researching technology in a bid to create new experiences. I could go over this whole story, but it's a typical Nintendo thing where they're just kind of brushing it off. So $880 million into research and development. Guys, what are they doing?
New Joy-Cons that don't drift.
That's never happening.
Bluetooth functionality for their system.
Actually,
well, I think that's all relating to the Switch Pro. I think that's all of it. All of it is in there. So,
yeah, I agree. I feel like that's where we're headed, right? Because it's not enough money for like a full blown new system, but it's too much money to like, this is just Nintendo throwing cash around and wiping their butts with ones or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be the Switch Pro. It's got to be.
I'm thinking that there's going to be a little bit of kind of like an online service as well that has. I feel like they're going to go focus so much towards online that there will be online services with like, Nintendo 64 games and GameCube games. We've seen that emulated with Mario 3D All-Stars.
Maybe that was the test bed.
Yeah. I was going to say, especially since it became so popular, it sold, like you said, 9 million copies. I mean, maybe part of this R&D is going to be spent on a new virtual console.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, too, because they actually updated, how they have the NES and SNES online. They added that to have its own kind of app on the front screen. And it just seems a little too bare bones to me to have all of that space on the Switch just for those two things. David, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's cool, but just a quick, for people listening now, if you're interested in the virtual console, a sneak peek tomorrow's Boss Rush Banter is all about whether Nintendo should put a virtual console on the Switch, so you should check that out.
Yes.
Where do we check that out?
Quick plug there.
And where do we check
that's all
games.com?
Yes.
There we go.
No, but I'll go a little bit more specific. Obviously, I agree that this research and development has been for the Switch Pro, but I think specifically they've been trying to figure out a way to make it so that it's not dock only. And I'm hoping that we're going to have a Switch Pro that is beefed up but also portable still, because I think that's so central to the Switch identity.
I think the rumor is that the screen is going to be a bigger screen, but it's still going to be 720p OLED, and like the guts of the Switch are going to be similar, maybe a little bit more powerful, but the dock is going to be where there's going to be power. There's going to be extra processing power in the dock. There's going to be extra, whatever you need to make things more powerful. I'm the tech guy here, guys. Tech guy. Check out my tech podcast coming soon.
Do you think the Switch Pro will actually grow in size, or do you think it'll stay roughly the same size?
I think I think
the rumor had the screen being a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's a bigger screen,
yeah,
right?
But I think they're going to get rid of that bezel that's around the screen. So I think the console itself will be the same size because so many people have Joy-Cons that if they buy the new Switch, they're going to want to keep using their Joy-Cons if they haven't drifted yet. And that, I feel like...
Mine haven't.
I feel like creating a new line of accessories for this, thing, what will ultimately be kind of like a niche product, right? Where, okay, people who just want to Switch to play on the go will either get a Switch Lite or a regular Switch, but the hardcore will buy the Switch Pro, right? Like, you're not going to make a whole new line of accessories. Maybe they will, I don't know. But generally thinking, they're not going to want to make a whole new line of accessories just for a product that's probably not going to sell more than maybe 20 million units its lifetime,
Right.
So...
I kind of wonder, too, if some of this research and development went into a different kind of graphics card, because we have that silicone semiconductor shortage that's going on, and that's why Sony's not, those chips can't be produced, and there's a lack of engineers that can do it right now. So I wonder, we've known about this chip shortage for about 2 years, and I wonder if Nintendo might be researching something like that for the Switch Pro that's coming up as well.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. But if the Switch Pro does come out and its handheld is, 720p and actually has very good frame rates, I am going to absolutely play Xenoblade 2 again.
That ran like trash in handheld mode.
Ass in handheld mode, and I would love to play that game again. What about you guys? Are there any games you'd play again in handheld mode?
I would probably play Breath of the Wild again, because that game was, it wasn't as bad as Xenoblade, but it was chuggy in some areas, especially when you like set the grass on fire and you're throwing bombs and the enemies are, the ninja guys are appearing and disappearing and appearing again and shooting bomb arrows at you. Like, there's so many things that could change the frame rates on that on that game that I would probably play through it again. So I'm hoping that, like, I mean, a lot of games run at 60 on TV and 30 in handheld mode too, right? In terms of frames, right? Like Mario 3D World runs at 30 frames a second in handheld mode, but it runs at 60 on TV. Like, it'd be nice to get a good frame rate across the board.
Nice. Yeah, so just to kind of wrap up everything, there's nothing else to say except Nintendo's killing it, and they're continuing to kill it. We have E3 coming up. It seems like they're investing a lot of money into their future. So,
can I read one stat to prove that Nintendo is killing it?
Yeah.
So, PlayStation 4's top 3 selling games are Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, and God of War. They've all sold over 10 million units. Animal Crossing has outsold all 3 of those games combined.
Good.
That is crazy.
So,
wow. A single game.
Killing
it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's it for our docked mode. And today we actually have a question from one of our fans. Jack Bro asks, what gimmick would you like to see in Mario Kart 9 when it inevitably gets announced? So, Corey, you're kind of going off about that. Is there anything else you want on it?
I just want a bunch of cool new tracks. I think a cool thing, too, would be, like, I know there's been this battle of, like, do they change it to Nintendo Kart and add all these other characters in it, which I don't think you need to rebrand it, but I think you could add, like, the Star Fox crew in there and get some cool looking R-Wings and R-Wing type vehicles in there, or like the Landmaster or whatever. I think that would be cool to drive around.
They put the characters from Splatoon, but Star Fox and Falco aren't in it? Come on.
Right.
Samus is in it? Come on.
Yeah. But I would really like to see, they made a bunch of legacy tracks. They remade them for Mario Kart 8 and it was cool. But I would like them to go a step further and be like, here's the base game. You get 16 cups, whatever. It comes with these. But then sell legacy packs of the old consoles. Like, here's your Super Nintendo pack. You get every track remade for, what, $12, $15. Maybe you get a cool skin with it, too, like a Donkey Kong Jr. skin for Donkey Kong or something. I think you could do cool things like that. I think DLC is a must for Mario Kart 9. I don't know how people really feel about DLC, but I thought when they first released DLC for Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, that was such a killer package for, what, $15, I think? What, you got eight new cups, a ton of new tracks, some new characters. It was awesome. I would also like to see weather changing effects that they did, like the Animal Crossing level kind of changes. It has 4 different tracks within a track based on the season.
I think that was cool.
I think that would be cool to have, like, okay, well, this time it's night, this time it's raining, whatever. And I mean, I don't need that, but I think it would be a cool change of pace for Mario Kart.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Nice. David, what about you?
So I agree with Corey that I think that's a likely thing that they will do in terms of including all the past stuff. I think they've done Smash Brothers now, with including every fighter ever in this massive roster, and it's worked really well. So why not with something like Mario Kart? But my big wish for Mario Kart 9 would be to have a course builder. Let us build and post our own courses.
That would be cool.
Well, we have Mario Kart Live Tour for that, or whatever that thing is.
Oh, home circuit.
Yeah, there we go.
Sure. And that's fun, in terms of augmented reality, but to have like you could have like 8 base courses with certain shapes set up already, and then like forge mode in games, right? Like be able to build your ramps and things like that and share that. It would be so fun.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
That would be awesome. Stoy, you got anything else?
Well, I think you had talked about it earlier, where if you have customizable outfits, because how many different versions of Mario are there? You have like Super Mario, like Mario from Super Mario Odyssey, and then you have the denim wearing Mario.
I think there's 4 in Mario Kart 8 alone.
Yeah, but
4 versions.
Yeah, because there's like Metal Mario. That's one of them too. I
think,
Tanuki Mario.
Yeah, Mario.
So yeah, you throw in a lot more things like that. And unlockable, like obviously collecting coins on the tracks, gives you currency to go purchase a lot of this stuff. I don't know if Nintendo would go as far as that, but at least make them unlockable like they have done in the past with other parts with your cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going to get people coming in the long run. But yeah, like adding new tracks from going the Smash Brothers route of like new tracks from like all different kinds of franchises. Like throw Kid Icarus in there, throw Star Fox in there. Even a Splatoon track would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I'm on the band where I'd like to see kind of tournaments where you earn customize, new costumes and stuff like that. I'm one of the few people who actually play Mario Kart Tour on the phone. So
You're the worst.
Know that
You're that guy.
I know, I'm terrible. I know that there are they have like 12 Mario outfits on there, and like even Toad has like 15, so they could do this like week to week, and that would get me to keep playing because I haven't touched Mario Kart 8 just because it's the same thing over and over, and the online rankings just aren't enough for me to keep playing it. So that gets my vote.
I play it because my wife plays with me, and it's the only game she'll play is Mario Kart.
That's awesome. Cool. So let's get to playing with power. David, kick it off.
Sound kind of boring because I've been working through the same 2 games here for the last month, but I am making significant progress in trying to 100% Spirit Tracks, which has been one of the few Zelda games I haven't 100%ed. So that's been a slog, but I'm getting there.
Call yourself close? A true Zelda fan.
I am really close. I'm on the final dungeon, so I'm excited. And then I've been making my way through Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I've gotten really sidetracked on grinding side quests and trying to level my characters up, but I'm at the sweet spot in that game where I'm really comfortable with the battle system. I understand all the kind of goals with upgrading my characters, and I'm just loving it. So,
what chapter are you on?
Shoot, I can't remember the chapter numbers, but I just went through the Sword Valley and did all that stuff, and going over to Mechonis, I guess. So I'm enjoying it.
Nice. How about you, Stoy?
Do you want me to talk about like Nintendo games I'm playing or anything really?
What are you playing? Anything?
Resident Evil Village. That's what I've been kind of getting on. It was kind of a slow start for me because I wasn't getting into it as much as I thought I was, like right off the bat. But after you get past that first hour, that's when the game really starts to open up. It's not as scary as like Resident Evil 7 was, because Resident Evil 7 was kind of terrifying, like walking through that house and stuff. But Resident Evil Village kind of reminds me more like what Resident Evil 4 was like, where it was a different kind of terror that you don't know what's going to be lurking around that corner. Like, are you going to find this monster that you're going to have to waste, hundreds of ammunition, hundreds of bullets into, or like, is it going to be nothing? But I got to give it up to Capcom and the Resident Evil team for their creature and boss designs. Man, I mean, some of those boss sequences are just fantastic. Like it's just wild, like how they could just how creative they are and how they could kind of, like what can they do next, And it's like Resident Evil Village, and like, one of the enemies is a puppet. Everybody talks about Lady Dimitrescu, whatever, but like, one of my favorite enemies in there is like this puppet lady, where like it's actually a ventriloquist, but like you don't see the woman controlling the puppet. It's just a puppet, and it's like optical illusions throughout the whole area and level that you're in, and it's just there's a crazy scene with a baby chasing you. That's weird. But if anybody's playing Resident Evil Village, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it's weird. It gets really weird for a hot minute, and like, yeah, you leave the house and you're like, what the hell was that?
How far into it are you?
I would say I'm about like 4 hours into it.
Okay.
Yeah, and from what I hear, I'm at the kind of like the halfway mark of that. So
Nice. I think Resident Evil 4 was my favorite.
Yeah,
I haven't played one since, though.
Then you'll like this one, honestly. Like, it's got huge Resident Evil 4 vibes in it.
Nice.
So.
What about you, Corey?
On Switch, I've been trying to play. I'm trying 100% Super Mario 3D World, and I love that game so much. I kind of went back to it after taking a little bit of a break because of some Destiny stuff that I've been doing for our Destiny show. But I've been playing through that, and then I was going to play through Final Fantasy 12. I had it all downloaded, ready to go. And then everybody in our Discord started talking about Final Fantasy 10. And I'm like, oh, man, I want to play that too. So I downloaded it. And I played through that first area of Final Fantasy 10. And I just woke up on the beach where Waka is. And, man, that game I know people kind of have their gripes with Final Fantasy X, but that game holds a special place in my heart, and it just started tugging on all the heartstrings again. Oh yeah, because
especially when you hear that song at the beginning with the piano.
Yeah,
you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing on Switch.
There's nothing more cringy than the whole like, you know what I do when I'm sad? I laugh.
Yeah, but that seems a lot more endearing than the memes make it out to be, though. I mean,
I don't know, man. Even I was like,
if you take the acting out of it, it's an endearing scene.
Well, admittedly, it was Final Fantasy's first fully voice acted game.
Yeah, and this one is they got the full cast back and they redid all the voiceovers. So.
Really?
That's a fantastic impression, by the way, Stoy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it was like pretty spot on.
Stoy coming soon to Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
The laughing guy.
Wait for it. Okay, I'm in there somewhere. You just got to find me.
Yeah.
I've just been playing Picross. I've been trying to find a game that I want to play, and I've tried like maybe 4 or 5 different games in the last week, and nothing's really caught my eye or attention. And then I've kind of just dabbled a little bit in Animal Crossing. I got the cockroaches out of my house because I haven't played it in so long. So I'm kind of doing a couple of projects on there, and it's pretty fun. But we'll see what's next. Maybe I'll try to get into Monster Hunter again. So, and let's just get into some plugs. Stoy, where can we find you?
Well, I am part of the Boss Rush Games network of podcasts. I actually run the EXPcast. We're a video game podcast, and I run it with 3 of my best friends. We release episodes about every Monday and Thursday morning, and you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EXPcast, as well as we're on the Boss Rush Games Discord, so we have our own room in there, so you can interact with us and ask us questions there too. Or basically half of my team, actually 3 out of the 4 of us, are on the Monster Hunter chat. So they tried to get me in the Monster Hunter world, and I couldn't. So when Rise came out, they tried to get me into it, and I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't think I can do it.
It was one of those games that I liked and just didn't love. I don't know. Like, I didn't get the hook that everybody else is getting with it.
Yeah, same.
But I liked it enough to play it a little bit. I don't know. David, where can we find you?
You can find me at David Lasby on Twitter, where you can see all my articles from Zelda Dungeon and BossRushGames.com. And actually check out my latest story. I got pinned to my profile. I got a chance to sit down with David Howe, one of the editors for the Castlevania show on Netflix, and talk with him a bit about what it would be like to do a Zelda anime. And that just got picked up by Nintendo Life today. So check it out.
Nice. Congrats.
Very cool.
Corey.
You can find me at I am Corey in HD on Twitter. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast. You can find me hosting Tower Casuals, our Destiny podcast. And I will be floating around for a while on the other shows as well. Trying to be, more involved in the other things going on. Since I took off for a month, had to have a baby, so
Well, you shouldn't have.
Your wife did. Yeah.
No, I did. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be
Taking credit.
Scientifically, probably impossible, but I don't know.
Clearly,
Hey,
you haven't seen the movie Twins.
You know what? Seahorse males carry their children. Okay, basically a seahorse.
Awesome. So thank you, Corey the Seahorse. You can find me on Twitter at DCDM99, and then check out our articles on bossrushgames.com. And that's our episode for tonight, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Stoy. And
thank you for having me. I really appreciate being on here and talking shop with you guys.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.